I'd like to start the Phillipsburg City Council meeting for May 28th, 2019. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have any public comment tonight? All right, let's go to Jeff for Secure Energy Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you. I know the last meeting we were at, you guys said I could call in a price and things like that. And I thought, I was in Norton today anyway, and I thought that way if anybody has any questions, concerns, or what we all can talk about tonight, throw them off of me. That way we know where we stand and everything. So I appreciate that. I will tell you, I updated the numbers from 3 weeks ago. If we wanted to do just the 18-19 winter, we'd be roughly at 333. And if we wanted to do the 18-19 along with the 19-20 winter along with the 2021 winter, in essence 2 years, we'd be at 330, okay? And that's just a Novy March, what we've always done in the past. And what we locked in the last time was back in September of 17. We locked into 17-18 and the 18-19 winters, the Novy through March time frame on 50% of our load at 385. Okay. So as you can see, the prices we could lock in today are cheaper. And if we go back and look over the last 15 to 18 years that we've been doing this, these are some of the lowest prices we are at. We're currently about 7 to 8% above the year ago average as far as gas in the ground, but we're still looking at 12 to 13%. Mike, I think you can verify that. 12 to 13% below the actual 5-year average as far as gas in the ground. As we move through this summer, the electric generation load, like I spoke, was, we're seeing more gas being burnt, but if it stays cool like this, we won't have to worry about that, So, but, just questions, concerns, that's kind of where it's at updated wise.
I think on your part of the agenda you had.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. I didn't know if you were going to be here or not, so I wanted it
Sure.
on the agenda.
Okay, let's go ahead and use your portion up here.
Sure. I'm pretty comfortable going out 1 or 2 years. 3 years is something that I just don't.
I don't want to go out that far. 2 is fine.
But I think those prices are pretty good. I don't know if they'll really get any better. If they do, it's a short window for them to do so. Like you say, we have seen supply gain on the 5-year average recently. However, that's kind of now trending more in parallel with the 5-year average, so we've seen that even come back a little bit. But at 333, we're looking at 2,000 decatherms. We don't have a ton of volume, so it's not going to be easy to get that price cheaper than that. But I would definitely go along with your recommendation to do it at least 50% for the next 2 winters.
So we do 19 and 20, is that right? Or were you locked into
It would be the
20 and 20?
20. It'd be Novy 19 through March of 20, and then Novy of 20 through
20.
March of 21.
Okay.
Yeah, and that I could do for 330. So that's as of tonight. Now, if something happens overnight, I feel pretty good that we could probably get that done.
333 or 330?
330 for 2 years.
2 years,
2 years.
yeah.
Do you want to
And
do
you're
2 years?
thinking 50%?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's enough, or should we do a little more than 50?
I think 50 to 70 is kind of where I'm at. 2 years out, there's probably not a lot of risk that you're going to lose a lot of demand. Sell a building or whatever it is to bring you under that level. And then the consequence that if you are under that level is you sell the gas back to the market. And if it does what we think it's going to do, you won't really be in a bad situation there either. So,
Okay.
but, I kind of leave that up to.
Would we better off to go to the 70 then?
I kind of think so, as I don't know that we're going to have another opportunity as cheap as we have it today. And that's why you would do a lower amount, is you think that maybe there's a chance that you can add that 20-25% back at a later date. But I don't think that there's a lot left on the table where the prices are at today.
So we have a recommendation of 70% of 330 for the next two. Do I have a motion?
That's so moved.
Second.
Got a second on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Jeff, thank you for making the trip.
I will go ahead and send a trigger confirmation like I had
Okay.
in the past to Brenda and Tiffany. I will forward that to you. You can, whoever wants to sign it, send it back. It's kind of our paper trail and
Okay.
things, so we'll get her done.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds great.
Have a safe trip home.
You bet, we will. Let it warm up a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe you get some nice weather this weekend for the Riverless Festival.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a look at the minutes for May 6th. Do I have any corrections?
I make the motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
30 seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Corporation ordinance number 1055-0519S.
What is Tomahawk Public Works?
Pardon?
What is Tomahawk Public Works?
It's the weed killer we use. You buy it at the community.
Okay. I kept seeing that number.
It's a brand name. It's kind of like Roundup.
Okay, that explains it.
Does it really cause cancer?
No comment.
Don't know. Too early to tell. Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve appropriation ordinance 1055-05-19A.
2 seconds?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, as we do our roundtable, if you've got any feedback on the 3% from your constituents that I asked you to kind of get, if you don't have it this week, we can get it next week, because we have a meeting next week as well. So,
The only, everybody I talked to was, that's kind of in line with inflation where it's been, so, because of no raises, so anybody I talked to didn't have a problem with it.
okay. Anything else you got?
No.
Terry?
The folks that I visited with what with his budget stuff, I think they think, like to see it stay where it's at, the ones that I visited with.
Okay. You got anything else on your?
No, I don't. That's,
Okay.
that's another thing I have.
Brett, you got the ordinance, oh, yeah, from
I got the
library.
library,
You got the
yeah.
library stuff.
And on the law enforcement, I haven't heard from anybody either way. So,
Okay.
on the library, we met, Finance Committee met with the library board, and we went through their budget and had a really good meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but right now that the library is paying their own building insurance, which is roughly about a little over $3,000. Isn't that right, Mike?
Close, 3,500.
Yeah. So it was our recommendation for the city to assume that payment and then increase the percentage of the library from 7 to 12% of that half-cent sales tax, which it's in your agenda what that would raise that.
So we had an ordinance passed in 97 that had the 0.5% sales tax.
And it was split
And we were
between
splitting it among
beautification,
90.
sidewalk, blah, blah, blah.
And what we're recommending is to increase the library from 7% to 12%. And the impact is what you see on your paper there. Take it up to
The library board
27,
can get plenty of
590.
money for special things, but they can't get money for just
Operations.
operations.
What did we reduce by 5%?
No, that is 5% of the half-cent sales tax.
No, it's.
We were throwing it all into general fund.
Right.
Okay.
We had put it in sidewalks,
airport,
beautification,
right, the
about 10
airport-
different buckets. And since we now have a 0.5% going to
Infrastructures.
infrastructure improvements, which sidewalks and some of those things are already in that, and we're really double dipping there, so we said, put it in general. This is, so the finance committee is recommending that we go increase the library since they can't get funding from foundations and stuff for ops.
I'm on board with that, just wanted to know where
Yeah.
where it's coming
The
from.
only other one that we still split out of that half-cent is the airport, correct? The airport and the library, the rest of them go into general.
Airport comes out of it.
They get a certain percent of that too, or they used
Yeah, they
to.
used to.
They used to, I thought we put it all pretty much, the library was the only thing I think we left.
And we might have, I couldn't remember if we did
Is
the
that right,
library
Tiffany?
and the airport.
Just the library. I
Just
thought
the
we had
library,
okay.
discussed to
Okay.
keep track of anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our recommendation, and I'll make a motion that we make that adjustment, to pay the building insurance and raise it from 7 to 12.
I'll
Any-
second it.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any questions for the library? We've got the library here, so. And I think next week you're gonna present your 2020 budget. So at the next meeting next week, they'll have their 2020 budget based upon what we just told them.
Okay.
So I appreciate that. So
You
thank
bet.
you.
Thank you for showing up. I appreciate that. Okay, you got anything else, Brett?
I do not.
Okay, Pete?
I have nothing other than, of the folks I've talked to, I would say are probably 3/4 against an increase, and probably 1/4 of them would recommend an increase in the sheriff's budget.
Okay.
What is the committee standing on that still?
I just mentioned earlier that we have a meeting in a different arena on the 4th, and I would like to, following that meeting, I would like to call a law enforcement meeting
Okay.
back together and go from there. That way we can give Charlie our answer and move forward from there.
Okay.
Fourth, that's before our next meeting, isn't it? Or is it?
Should be.
Next meeting should be the 3rd.
Our next
Should be
meeting
the
is,
3rd, yeah.
our next meeting is next Monday.
Yeah.
Third.
Yeah, so I'll get to it. I'll be gone the rest of that week in Topeka for meetings, but I will holler at everybody, try to pull back together at the beginning of the next week. So then the second meeting of June, we can present back to council.
Okay. So it'll be the second meeting in June.
Correct.
Okay. Michael?
Okay. I'll report on the hardware, the roundtable on the next meeting.
Okay.
As far as hardware goes, worked on some quotes again. They're not real fresh in my mind as we postpone the meeting, but we'll go through them. Anyway, so built up a server, came up to $9,495. This is PowerEdge Dell T40. It is RAID 10, 6 solid state drives. Should give us about 2.9, kind of estimated that on a calculator. You lose some space going to the 6th drive, but you get additional, what do you want to call it, sort of backup capability for your data. So there's that. Versus that's kind of different than the last one we looked at, which was a RAID 5 setup where you have only striping and one hard drive failure. That pretty much. Is there anything anybody would like to talk about on the
So this
server?
is in support of the AMI going in. So this is kind of the hardware upgrade, server upgrade, laptop upgrades, and everything that goes along with it. scanners for your document management. We do have an individual coming in the June 10th to work on document management, so we'd like to go ahead and at least get that started, but you gotta have a new server. So we got, on May 23rd, we got a response from Cassell saying that we would need the new server set up and running prior to installing document management, and we can go ahead and pay for that program ahead of time, and it would not affect the quote for the rest of the programs, which is good. So that was a $5,000 portion of the software. He also said they had 18 to 19 sites that have already purchased the program in the first quarter. So it's a very popular program. So the sooner we decide, the sooner we can get in for training and installation. So,
Well, and I'd like to visit about Nehemiah and the rest of that when it's Tim's, on Tim's. That's
portion.
okay, yeah.
Okay. Okey-doke.
So
Now, is that buying direct from what?
that
Dell?
is buying direct from Dell.
Good.
Yep. Yep. And then, secondly, the desktops and the laptop that we have here are several years old. Some are as old as, I think they're turning 10 now, 2 of them. So we do need to replace those absolutely, whether we do anything or not, as they're running Windows 7, which is soon to be not supported by Microsoft. So there are 3 all-in-one computers, as well as a laptop in the quote, as well as 2 document scanners, power supply backup, all the Microsoft Home and Office for all the PCs. And then there's a new switch, which we may or may not need, but we'll put it in here, and if we don't need it, we'll pull it out. So
What was the total hardware? 19,000? Did you have?
it was $17,785, which is quite a bit cheaper than the last quotes that we had. So we did find a little bit better computer systems, as well as a little cheaper on the server.
So if we start talking AMI, I would like to at least get started on the
Well,
hardware
I think Tim's
portion
original,
of that.
yeah, Tim's
Even that.
bid, yeah, if we don't go with all of it, then we'll.
We at least
break it
want to
down
go
to
with the
portions.
hardware and the document management now, which we're looking at 22,000, 23,000.
But if we decide
But
to
if
go
we
with
decide to
AMI,
go with all-
we're gonna lump it together, get the loan, and then everything will be all linked together,
Right.
so.
And we'll get to that here in a minute. Anything else, Michael?
Not too much, so, all of that stuff would be upgradable. It's where the system we have today is out of warranty and is not upgradable. If we wanted to upgrade it, we would probably have to wipe the memory and start over on it. So if you wanted to change the RAID, you'd have to wipe it. If you wanted to,
How often do you guys upgrade your computers, Michael, out there? I know we do ours every 5.
I'd guess it was every 4.
I would
We do
guess
ours every
close
5.
to it.
3 to 5 is usually
Yeah.
what you do.
Yeah. I just want people to understand.
Depends on if you're
that-
leasing. If
Yeah.
you're leasing, it's usually 3. If you
Yeah.
purchased, it's usually 5.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your research on that.
Yeah, thanks for that and the natural gas research. That helps out a lot. Lynette? Oh.
Wait a minute.
You got it.
We talked about it, and we talked about getting the equipment. Are we gonna buy the equipment or not?
Well, we're gonna go to whether we're gonna do the whole shebang,
Okay.
or
then
if
we-
not, we're
then
gonna
we
go
may
with that.
piecemeal it, yeah.
So we'll
Okay.
get to that here in a
Well,
minute.
so then wait a minute. Yeah, we talked about this, about doing it. We need to do it. Are we
So
gonna
this
do
is
it or not?
all of this would be us buying everything and then paying for it to be installed.
That would be
Right.
good.
Right.
That would be good, yeah.
Okay, now go, Lynette.
Don't have anything except a few people visited with me about the sheriff's, the 3% increase, and they feel it needs to stay where it's at.
Okay. Mr. Sage,
Mayor and council, I do not have anything to report this evening.
you look very nice tonight, by the way. I
He
just want to
does.
tell you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was gonna talk about the document program hardware. We've already discussed that, so we'll get in that. I want to introduce our summer intern who showed up last night in Phillipsburg. Her name is Melinda Davis. She goes by Minnie. She's from Iowa State University. She'll be working on the park redesign. And so after the meeting, I'd like you to go up and introduce yourself to her as well. So but thank you for being on board, and we're all, if you need anything, let us know. Thank you. I do want to point out one thing on the numbers that Charlie gave us. So in those numbers, in those minutes, there's a $96,000 benefits, okay? That does not come out of his budget. Okay, that comes out of the general budget. And I've talked to Max about it. He goes, that doesn't hit the sheriff's budget. That comes out of general. So when you look at I've got his expenditures here, and on the health insurance line, it's zero. They do have a liability insurance, but for the $814,000 that he spent last year, none of that was for benefits. So if you subtract out the $96,000 from the $312,480, it's $216,480, and we pay $297. So that shortfall suddenly turns into overage. So just want to point that out to everybody. You're up.
All right, I got a few things for you. Last week was spent primarily mowing and getting things ready for Memorial Weekend. Mother Nature has been somewhat cruel to us on our mowing, but I thought things looked pretty good at the cemetery for the weather.
Looked real good.
I thought things looked good. We'll be working this week primarily on potholes. I have a milling machine that will be here tomorrow. We will start milling several areas throughout town and removing some of our concrete approaches, as what's been planned for our summer programs. There'll be some information published tomorrow morning that'll go out, kind of giving an update of what our customers can expect. In those information packets that are going out, we have put out 2 today. One was on hydrant flushing. So the water department will, they've got a little bit of a head start on me. They've got a couple of them they've already worked on, but this will get the rest of the information out to the public of what we're doing and why. We also have put one out on the weed ordinance. There are several sections of town that are starting to show some neglect from people's yards, and it's being noticed and criticized a little bit more heavily. Hopefully it is an intent that they will
When it dries out a little bit, hopefully it'll get...
take that warning and get it taken care of, because we really don't want to have to start writing violations again. So
Where can they find this at?
this is on the city's website. It'll also be on our social media sites. So the other ones that will be coming out, like I said, will be the milling and patching as well as our concrete approaches. It'll also list some locations that we're going to start on. We will be updating that over the next several weeks with different locations as we complete one and move to the next. Past projects, we're close to complete on all of them. What is remaining is the seeding portion, and Mother Nature has not been overly friendly to us to get seeding done yet. I anticipate it drying out at some point. We will get that seeded and completed. The backhoe that we have down at Great Bend Murphy Tractor should be completed by the end of this week. We'll be getting it back up here and getting it back in service. Aquatic Center opened yesterday. Had a fairly good crowd out there. Temperature did not allow us to open early today, but we did open later in the afternoon. Just wanted to give you an update on lifeguards, what we did for last week's certification. We certified 13 new lifeguards and had 9 recertifications. 6 of those were from out of town of the new lifeguard certifications. So there are several areas that are sending their guards to us to have them certified. So it's a nice to have for our aquatic center. Let's talk AMRs. I know you got questions, so.
Well, I know you lumped everything together in that bid, and I didn't bring it tonight. Tim, can you tell us that figure?
It come out to be, with everything I wrapped up in there, with the equipment, the office portion of it, the software, the AMR was at want to say 640.
I was thinking
I added some
646.
contingencies to it to give us some room in case some things didn't work the way we anticipated. What we put in there for our loan application, as far as our submittal, was right at 700,000. Now you had the ability to adjust that plus or minus however you wish.
And we can pay that back as fast as we want to.
You can pay it back day one if you, I mean, say you do the project and it only costs you 550,000, you can throw the 150,000 on there and continue paying from that point. Or you can take it and use it for any type of water project that's related to AMRs.
What, refresh me on this, what's the return?
Was 6 years.
It was
That
6
was on the AMR itself. Now, that will go up just a little bit because of, we're adding computers, software that wasn't in the original. The return on investment was based on the meters themselves.
Yeah, the AMI only.
Right. Just
Not
the
the new
meter and the
software.
software that goes for the meters.
Okay, okay,
Not
I'm with you.
our
Office.
software
The office.
for billing software.
Because the office, we would have done that eventually anyway, whether we got any.
Well, the office efficiency, I don't think we took a lot of that into consideration as
No,
far
we didn't
as
take any of it.
the time that it's gonna save them.
So I think you'll see year 7, the system entirely should pay for itself with the added upgrades attached to it. So we're fairly confident in those numbers. We actually think we think those numbers are inflated a little bit. I think they'll be a little better than that. So we're continuously implementing new meters. You know, we've installed 20 in the last 3 weeks because of the water line projects we're doing. So every one of those projects we bid in a meter, so those will be pulled back out of the project because when the project was bid, we hadn't done those water line projects. So every project we start, that's another meter that gets pulled off the shelf that won't have to be done later on.
It's just electronics to put on.
Yeah.
All they gotta do is put the data reader on it and the antenna and it'll be up and live. So that keeps reducing that cost as we go down the road.
Your labor though, it's the labor though.
We figured our labor and the.
It was approved though by them as far as using labor versus professional, whatever the rate thing that you're talking about.
For our projects?
Putting the meters in.
Yeah.
Yes. That's not a problem for us.
Okay.
This project, it'll score well with them, and I have no doubt that they will approve us for our loan. I'm guessing their interest rate's gonna be anywhere from 2.4 to 2.7. So,
And we're
Now, Tim, another thing too, on the software, we need to get it, the data management right away.
the data management is critical for
Right.
what she's doing. What I need to get implemented right away and get it open and running is utility billing software.
Right.
Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to get all our meters installed and they've installed all the software to talk to us. And we have one system set up using it, then we come in with a separate system and we got to go back and
Talk to you. Yeah.
have them come back and pay more money for them to come back and redo it. So, in talking with Tiffany, she felt that it would be 2 or 3 months before that software was up and running where it would be ready. What I've anticipated as far as construction timeline is with the council's approval, August, we would start that contract. We would have it done by October. That would give her staff timing to get that stuff implemented and get it up and running. Hopefully have the bugs worked out for the most part before then.
Can I add to that? And that depends on where we get in the queue as far as, like he said, there's several people that have gotten the program, so I don't know how soon we'll get started. And that's kind of a minimum on their time and our time as far as how long it'll take to get going.
Did they say training by Zoom or Skype was available?
I didn't specifically ask them what program they were using, but
But
they
we
will
can
do
do
it remotely.
remote, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I
I think
told
that
them
was-
if they wanted us to fly to Utah
Yeah.
and to train, but I said we just can't do that. We'll have to do it by computer or something here.
That's good, yeah, because that was a concern that we had.
with the council's approval, the sooner that we move forward with some of the purchase, the better off we're gonna be, because if we push it back too much further, as much as I hate to say it, you're gonna get into winter, you're gonna add,
And then you're gonna
That
get
other
into another
complications.
increase on
we also
pipe
know
roads
that
every year.
with the possible, economic, things that are out there right now, we do know that tariffs are starting to affect some of our contract prices. The sooner we get some of that stuff locked in and agreed upon, the less likely those things are gonna increase and cost us more money. You know, the electronic pieces do come from overseas, and, I'd like to get as much of those on contract as possible.
Can you give me that figure that you had, Tim, at 6?
Yeah, real quick.
What I was going with that, we'll probably have to pay some money out of the water fund until we get our loan coming back, and then we can repay that back. Does that make sense? We may have to pay some money before we get the loan, but it shouldn't be an overabundance of it, so.
Get the,
Get the hardware and what software they need right away.
I'm happy with the annual support compared to what they originally gave us of $18,000. It's down to $874 a month. You gotta remember, we're still paying, what do we, for fund balance, we're still paying, what, $7,000 or
I was thinking it's 5 to 6.
$5,000 to $6,000 support for that. So it's kind of a wash.
And the court program was 3.
Court was 3, so we're getting that in there as well. So it's a wash really as far as what we pay support on an archaic software compared to something state-of-the-art that everybody's starting to go to.
Yeah, because that'd be 10,488 on the 874, and with what you're saying, that's close to what.
The two were, when you
Yeah.
take the court manual.
So that'd be almost a wash then at that point.
All right, so what we had was, for the infrastructure portion of the FlexNet was $88,000. The water meter portion themselves were $327,000. The radios and the installation fees were $71,000. Total project cost was $667,674. Now, one of the big things that is included in that Lance and I had briefly talked about, and we need some input back from you. I had rolled years 1 through 5's hosting and analytical fees into that. It was my guess that would be the easiest way to do it up for the first 5 years. I don't know if that's how you prefer to do that or not. They're approximately $15,000 a year. So you got $60,000 worth of fees that are built in there for their hosting and analyticals. There is also $33,000 worth of contingencies included in there just for other things as needed.
But that's all the software, the
That's
hardware,
software,
that's the whole thing?
Lock, stock, and barrel.
Okay, so basically 668,000. And then your loan, you said, was for 700,000?
I put it out there for $700,000.
Okay.
Now we can adjust that however we see fit.
I got lost someplace. You just figured 88,327 and 71, which is 486, and another 60 on top of that is 546, and another 33 is 579.
That's
Or-
not all the software.
You gotta get
and equipment.
their this is FlexNet. Then you have their software and computers you have to attach to it as well.
That's what I was trying to understand, to make sure where these numbers were
So
coming up at.
66,000 on software, and then 10,000 on support. And then hardware was 17,
About 18.
18.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
We do have to, as far as the requirements through KDHE's loan, I have to do a preliminary engineering report, and they're about $1,000 for me to get done. In the grand scheme of it, it's pretty minor to have done. It won't take us but a couple weeks to have it completed.
What are they hosting?
Pardon?
What's the hosting bit?
So all of our information stuff is hosted off-site. It goes through There's two different banks that they run. One's in Salt Lake City, and I don't remember the other one's at.
So it's just the
I think it's
It's
in
the
Raleigh,
raw
North
data.
Carolina.
They get the data, and then
It's
it,
a lot of data, takes readings every hour.
Every hour.
It's a lot of data.
maybe
So
that's
for
something
every
we can do
meter,
with
you'll
our
have
own server.
24 readings a day.
No.
I didn't hear your
So
question.
maybe it's something we could do with our old server.
They have those options available. In the past, we never chose to go that route. We can always,
If I had an IT guy that was full-time, I'd feel real comfortable doing that.
Because you could wipe it, start over with the 2012 R2 and just use it as a data server.
Yeah.
'Cause
And I think, can't we do this, have them host it for a couple of years, and then we can go away and host our own at any time?
yep,
Anytime we feel comfortable that we're up and running.
And that's
we can do it.
6,000 a year? Is that what we're paying them for that?
yes.
Is that the software as a service?
I think that's a $77 or $7,500 a year. It goes up just a hair every year.
It's something we should reevaluate.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I think as far as first couple of years though, as we burn it in and get used to the system, I would recommend that we use them.
Get all the bugs worked out and make sure everything's working good.
Any questions, discussion? If you want to move forward, on the total package, we can. If not, I would recommend we at least do hardware, software, document management, so we can get moving on it. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion on the entire project unless somebody else has some
We
discussion.
kicked this goddamn can down the road for how many years?
Yeah.
Too many.
And
Folks
the
getting
damn
tired.
thing could have been paid for by now if we'd have done it then.
I'll make a motion that we approve the AMI and software and hardware all in one package for approximately $668,000, with the loan, rural water loan being $700,000. And we will pay for, until we get the loan, we'll pay for some of the software out of the water fund.
The first part that we need to
Yeah,
get.
the first part that we need to, and then we'll repay it when we get our loan.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Mike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The only thing I have left is I'd like to visit with our technology folks before we leave tonight.
I have one question for you, Tim.
Okay.
It's not, well, it's just, at the cemetery, of course, rain, rain, rain. How many years has it been since we put any more sand on those roads or rock?
We usually put them on every year depending on what's needed. Usually they are just simple patches to try to keep them up.
Right? As there's, and it's just my opinion, it's time to start picking off a few every year, trying to get some more.
There's a lot of sloppy.
We don't
I
have
know
much, we don't
whenever-
have much money in our cemetery
I know.
budget, so
I
we're
know.
gonna have to try to,
And we might be able to, you know, if you get a approximate cost, maybe we could do some of it out of general, a little bit at a time, maybe 3-year project to get them
okay.
upgraded.
There are
It's just
some-
my thoughts, I don't know what everybody else thinks.
That's the,
We can start putting some numbers together and bring them
I
back.
just
to you.
seen a lot of the elderly people having to,
It was muddy.
yeah, fight the mud.
And the thing is, he couldn't get anything in it
No, I know.
because it,
I know.
it never did
There wasn't
dry out.
nothing we could do, but it's just, I know that it's time that we.
Because I asked.
It was quite a challenge last week to get everything done
But
before the weekend.
if you
so-
come up with some numbers, I'd appreciate
we
it.
can just do a letter.
One other question I had, Tim, that I forgot to ask, and I know we talked about this before, but doing this AMI, if I remember right, there is no anticipation for water increases, and rate increases?
Not to my knowledge.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm at.
that'll be something you guys with the large projects that have been out there for this year with the water line replacement, Quan's Reservoir and stuff like that. You'll need to look at your rates, but I think we felt pretty comfortable with where we were at, but we would have to have an increase.
I think in
Yeah.
the business case, there was no.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to clarify that on the AMI system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
We
No,
wasn't
it-
anticipating anything.
It was the, yeah, it's the extra money we're gonna get from the meters not registered
Correct.
correctly.
It should take care of
As well
itself.
as
yeah.
water loss.
Water loss,
Yeah.
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 So I don't
And truck
anticipate,
rolls.
you know, we spent a good deal of money with those 3 projects and the river crossing, but right now things seem to be looking okay.
Well, I just want to clarify that because of the aspect, you know, we're spending all this money.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from and how we're going to pay for it? We should be able to recoup it without
Correct.
changing rates.
I think the best way to answer that question is we're being more efficient with our,
That's correct, but
With our
a lot of people
resources.
want to understand that when you're doing that. That's the only reason I wanted to bring it up that way.
Do we have a water loss report yet for this month?
We don't have one that we feel confident with at this point. I mean, with what we had back from the river crossing repair, there's definitely a dramatic difference, but it only showed for a quarter of a month. So
Okay.
this next month will be the one that'll really show us some interesting numbers.
Okay. Don't forget to report that for
Okay.
us.
Tim, I got one question. Sidewalk funds, is there any money in there for sidewalks?
There has never been a dollar figure put in there that says where to stop. I've encouraged over previous councils to consider that, but we've never put a cap on there. So as long as there is money in general funds, yes, there is still funds available for that.
How does that work when the curb and gutter is needing repaired, when they're gonna do a new driveway and sidewalk?
What we try to do is the sidewalk portion of it where the ramp is at, we always try to replace what's damaged there. And then the driveway, usually the driveway is a portion of the, your approach, so it should be replaced by the owner.
Yeah, that's.
Outside that, we haven't really addressed it a whole lot. Most of our funds that we have set up for our curb and gutter has been set up with projects, but I haven't had a lot of people really address it outside that.
Well, I just have.
Most of it's always in the radius points around your ramps, and
Well, they're
haven't
gonna
been
do it
asked
all,
about
they're
it.
gonna do it all if, but I said, well, you might check with you and see if there's funds in there for the sidewalk itself.
yeah, that's one thing I would really recommend for this coming budget year, is that you put some type of figure on there that says this is where we need to stay at, because right now it's an open checkbook, and as long as there's money in general fund,
We haven't had enough sidewalk projects, so to,
depends on what you want. I mean, you start replacing a lot of sidewalk ramps, they're $1,800 a piece.
I know, but we haven't ever,
Oh, before now?
yeah,
No.
that's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying it's a bad idea to have a cap.
I just know we were
But I
pushing
know
the
I-
sidewalks more, and you're gonna start seeing more of
And
that.
we talked about that, you know, like down Second Street. where a
Yeah,
lot
I
of kids
think,
walk down there.
no, I think that ought to be something we address in our infrastructure
Mhm.
capital improvement plan.
There's something
Is to put in a sidewalk, Quality Corner, to put in a sidewalk down Second Street on the east side. Those type of things that are major projects that, I don't know, it probably goes under your street committee or whoever has streets.
Well, there's some down on Nebraska Street too.
But it's something that's gonna have to measure up against the other projects.
Right.
So
Have to prioritize.
we gotta prioritize.
Well, I think we do, the street committee needs to get together before we budget for next year and put a cap on it. Because we could, the part I see could be problematic is if we don't set a cap and then, you know, 10 people get it, and the last 2 said, you know, I got mine for this, sorry, you know. At least we have a cap, you know, just say, hey, yeah, we got $2,000 left, that's all we got left, or whatever.
The cap has always been what we had out of the 0.5%.
Right, we had it separated a little bit, we did a little different accounting.
And we never did ever
Get back.
deplete that.
Right,
I think it's still around, it was 10,000 when we decided to put it all in
We
general.
spent quite a bit last year. I know with the church improvement, some of those other ones, we spent quite a bit of
yeah,
money.
I could see where it could hit us pretty hard.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think we had over $15,000 worth of ramps last year. So, I mean, we spent some money on it.
Good.
So Tim, if you want to just, before, when we meet for budget, if you want to remember that, we'll try and set a cap. And then we'll bring it to the council for their approval.
Any other,
That's all I have.
anything on, did your sign show up?
Not yet.
Okay, ought to be here this week?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. And as far as putting those, are you gonna get the street committee together on that, or where they want to put them, or the law enforcement?
I would assume the street committee would.
You only have one on law enforcement, so you could actually pull him into that discussion.
He's the hardest one to find.
True.
But it's placement of where you want to put your radar signs.
Yeah.
So you got, who's on the street?
Michael and I.
So those two, and I'd pull in him.
Okay.
You'd have three, and you wouldn't be a quorum, so.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not on.
I didn't even put my name.
Okay.
I do have some reports there in your packet. The revenue one got in there twice, so we have an additional expense report.
That's why you have this.
Yeah, and then there's the cash balance and the court report. Since you have been talking about the budget, I'd like to encourage all the committees to start thinking about next year's budget, start getting ideas and information, because we should begin meeting to prepare next year's budget.
Yeah, I would get your committees together and then they're 2 or 3 weeks.
Also, Mapes and Miller has been here last week and this week working on the audit, so they are doing that.
How did your, I know our last meeting that was here, you was going to the
Finance training.
Yeah.
Budget training.
budget
Yep.
training, yeah.
Last, the 20th, I think, I went to Wichita to the budget training, and it was good. Lots of information, learned a lot. I know I have a lot to go to be an expert, so, but it was very informative.
What else did we have on the, I was gonna ask you about. Oh, so we get our second half of our mill levy in May. So will that hit May or June when it shows up in our reports? I want to make sure our finance committee gets together and really goes through the revenue report to see how we're standing compared to what we said we'd be, where we'd be standing, so. Some of them look pretty weak when you look at them today.
All right.
With that in mind, any more discussion? Questions?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Please introduce yourself to Minnie.